Hello there, Mr. and Mrs. America, and all the ships at sea. It is your favorite author that you haven't read yet. His name is Michael P. Spradlin, and he's here to talk with uh, New York Times bestselling multiple times Cathy Maxwell, romance writer, and world's youngest grandmother.
Yay! Thank you so much for that.
And
Yeah.
we're going to talk about some books, some writing stuff, and some gift ideas for especially for kids. I know as a romance writer, I'm not going to be, the majority of the audience is women, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, actually, I think it's 10% male.
Yeah, something like that. But I mean,
Yes.
90% female, 10% male. And they're always, I always looked at that audience as a huge audience for other types of books. Not just, I always said that when I worked in publishing, I always said that the key word in, or the key part of romance reader is reader.
Yes.
And so a
Oh,
lot of,
but I want to go. I want to hit that one. I want to really
okay,
hit that one hard because I think that what you're saying is very true. And sometimes I would go into bookstores that disparaged
oh, sure.
romance readers. We don't carry those books or anything. And I think it's a true loss for them because the romance reader reads across all genres.
Uh-huh.
We read nonfiction, we read young adult, we
Uh,
read what our children are reading, we read. We also buy the books for our families.
mhm.
So when I go into a store, I may be coming in to look for a particular book, a romance novel, whatever, but I'm going to end up walking out with a stack this big.
Oh,
Cha-ching,
sure.
cha-ching, cha-ching.
It's like
And I've
Mig.
always felt it was a sad thing because all we're such readers, all we're looking for is story.
Right.
Now, for many people, they found the stories that they wanted in the romance genre. It's a huge genre, it covers everything. So, yeah.
No, I really believe that, and I think to explain to anyone who's watching, Kathy and I got to know each other because I worked at HarperCollins for many, many years in the sales department,
Mhm.
and I was responsible for Borders and Walden books back when they were still here.
I know, I was
Um,
going to say, does anybody know what Walden books are anymore? It's like,
yeah.
or B.
Um,
Dalton. I said that the other
and
day, and my kids were like, "What?
yeah,
What,
I
what
know
is
that's
this you are
sad.
talking about?"
But in working for first Avon Books and then HarperCollins, romance was a huge part of our publishing program. And having Walden Books was like all romance all the time. I
Mhm.
mean, they got it right away. Storefront, floor displays, you name it. They embraced it fully. I mean, they had it down to the point where they would send out their little memos of street dates for titles, and people would show up with the memo in their hand.
Mhm.
This is the book I want. Where will I find it? And it's just blew my mind. Borders, on the other hand, a little late to the party. When they started out, they were these big superstores, mostly in college towns. And when they did try romance, they tried to make it Bordersy with like all this academic view of it and whatnot. And I was down like, and they treated me like I was down in the gutter waving at them like, "Hey, over here."
Mhm.
But then they did some analysis of their purchases, and they found out that among the, like just what you said, among the biggest tickets that checked out had at least one romance novel with it
Oh
in
yeah. Oh
their
yeah.
selection.
So I remember being at Rainy Day Books, which is a store in
Kansas,
Kansas City, which is a very important store because it does report to the New York
right?
Times or whatever. So people pay attention to what Rainy Day Books do. And I was there. They had invited me in, and I was watching a woman check out, and she had these huge coffee table books. And then she had something that the latest important heavyweight bestseller. And then she had, just some other things and everything. And she had on that stack two romance novels.
Yeah,
And I'm going to tell you, I knew right then which books she was going to read first when she got home.
Oh, sure.
And and I just it is, but I think we're beyond the days where we had to hide
Right.
our romance novels behind the iceberg
Well,
lettuce as we're checking out at the grocery store.
oh, for
Yeah.
sure. And I mean, look at the rise in specialty romance bookstores. I mean, they're
Oh,
they're
it's
popping up
amazing.
everywhere. And not only the bricks and mortar stores, but these little pop-up boutique romance stores. I
Hmm.
mean, I just joined TikTok. Makes me a dinosaur, I guess, but finally get on the TikTok train. But go on there and see how many little mobile, portable, pop-up, boutique
Hmm.
romance stores there. They push their cart into the lobby of a big office building, and all of the readers come down at lunch hour and buy their books. And I mean, it's insane.
Well,
And
it's predictable because the thing about the romance novel is these are stories we like to read.
right,
They're universal stories. They tap
right,
into something very deep inside all of us. Even for men, they tap into something
sure,
deep, you know?
yeah,
It's very predictable. I got to give a shout out though to Miss Willa's Bookshop in Charlestown, West Virginia, owned by
yay,
Jennifer
Miss Willis.
Armentrout. And Miss Willa's Bookshop was a part of one of her books. So then she made a real life romance
Wow,
store
wow,
out of it.
wow.
Fabulous store, just fabulous. So much imagination to it. And as we're talking about Walden Books and B. Dalton, Sandy Caro down in Staunton, Virginia. Did I say it? Stanton?
Stanton.
Stanton, Virginia. Uh, she's become an independent bookseller, and her goal is to give people what they want to read.
Yep,
Wherever they are, whatever they're
yep.
doing, she wants to give them the books they want to
That's
read.
me too. And it's funny when you talk about that because my mother is the one who engendered my love of reading, without any question about it. And and that was her approach. You read anything,
Hmm.
you read whatever you want to read. Comic books. Uh, she used to bring me home a Classics Illustrated comic
Oh,
every
I love
payday.
those. I
Every
love
payday,
those.
yeah. And that was her thing, was that you just read and read, read. Now, when I got to be about 12 or 13 and was still reading comic books, she got like, don't you think you should maybe read maybe something a little more? So I picked up my latest X-Men comic and I went through and I wrote down all the vocabulary words from the comic book that I had learned and had to
Oh,
look
you are a
up.
precocious one.
Yeah, and I had to her, I said, Mom, latest X-Men, these are the words I learned. Never another word.
Oh, see, that's good.
Never another
Yeah.
word. And so I do feel like I said, it's reader. It's
Okay,
not,
wait a minute, wait a minute. I think we have to explain for any younger viewers, when we say comic books, we really mean graphic novels. This,
right.
because
Sorry.
that's how far I mean, that's how it's where it's gone. And the other day I walked in, my adult children were watching anime.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm thinking, oh boy, did we miss? I got to figure out a way to make anime out of one of my books. Really.
Right. Me too. Me too.
Your books would be very good for that
Uh,
because of the adventure and the history. Yeah, they do very well.
yeah. So, so your latest trilogy, for those looking for Christmas presents
Ah,
for
okay.
romance readers in their life, um, do you have them there?
I do. I do. I have this latest trilogy.
Okay, because from looking at the covers and the titles, I'm getting a feeling that night is not a good time to do anything without something happening. Maybe, I don't know.
What, One Dangerous
Kiss,
Night, A Touch of Steel,
kiss of moonlight, kiss in the
Kiss in the
moonlight.
Moonlight. Night's the only time to do anything.
I
That's,
guess that's how I should have said it.
no one
So
wants a kiss at high noon.
no, no, no,
Ah, that's it, no
no.
lunchtime kisses, no
No.
lunchtime kisses and everything. So, right.
Right.
And I write historical romance. So, that's kind of my genre. I like that because there's a fantasy element. I can take a step back and I can look at history, but also I can look at the emotions that are still so true
Sure.
today.
Yeah. No, I think it's interesting how I've never seen it quite the way, having been around, books for 30 years in a publishing sense. and seeing books make connections, all different kinds of connections with people. I don't think I've ever seen how romance readers connect with characters in any other genre. I mean, it's just like it's almost like that it's Avatar level. I relate to this person. I see this person. This person is me. Further, this person is who I would like to be.
No, no, no,
And
no, no, no,
no,
no,
wrong.
no, no, no. First off, I think that we read what we value,
Hmm.
and I think romance readers are people who value relationships because that's what the book is about. It's about a
Right,
relation. It's about emotion and relationships. But the second aspect of reading it, sometimes there's the tendency to think that I'm projecting myself into the story. Actually, when I read a book, any book, I'm sitting there passing judgment on the characters. It's like I am their best girlfriend, and they're
right,
telling me, and then he said this, and I said that, and I'm sitting there and judging whether or not these two people belong together, whether or
right,
not there's a commitment here, whether or
right,
not the adventure they're going on is going to make sense, or all these other things. But I don't actually put myself in as a character, and I
right,
think that's one of the things that they've said because um, in any book I read, whether it's a murder mystery or whatever, I don't picture myself as the sleuth. Certainly
hmm.
not the dead body.
Yeah.
But I do sit
Well,
down and I'm like, oh, and then what happened next? Let's see. I'm the ultimate voyeur.
yeah.
I'm your best friend.
In all honesty, the dead body was the job I wanted just because you get to lay down the whole time. Um, anyway, but no, it's such a really intimate experience, reading a book
I think
and
reading it
stepping
is.
in.
It's a mind
And
movie. It's a mind
yeah,
movie. Mhm.
and I do think that I mean, I do think um I get asked all the time, like, how do I write a book? I want to write a book, but I don't have an idea to write a book.
Mhm.
And I said, well, and this is just my own personal opinion, um, have a character first because plots are a dime a dozen.
Mhm.
There's nothing that hasn't been done, probably. And if your readers don't care about your character, they're not going to read the book. They're never going to finish it. You got to have something in the character that makes them hold on to them so that they will finish that story
Right.
and see them, hopefully triumph or, whatever.
And they don't always
It's
have to
about.
be likable
No,
characters.
they don't.
Our
No, they
Martin
don't.
showed us that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, oh my God. Yeah. Don't even bring that up.
But it's about me wanting to know what's going to happen next,
Right.
or being so engaged in the characters, I want to see them succeed.
Right.
And it's interesting, Mike, because what you write um, is what I read when I was a middle school reader.
Mhm.
I was looking for history. I was looking for adventure. I was looking for action. I was looking for being engaged in a time that I wasn't involved in.
Right.
And I think what you write is so important because it does accomplish exactly those things. It's the same thing though with me. We're writing for action. We're action for adventure.
Yeah.
We Lots of readers want humor, especially right now they're looking for humor. They're looking for something that's a little bit beyond the drudge. I know I started reading romance. I had the baby blues after my second
Yeah.
child was born, and I was just lost in depression, and no one knew what it was at that time. And I can remember there's a woman who walked into the local library, and she had two toddlers by the hand, and she must have been 8 months pregnant.
Mm.
And she's walking in and holding this big bag of it was a grocery bag of books, and she set it on the counter for the librarian. And she said, "Load it up. We'll be back there." And she and the kids headed to the children's section of the book library. And I'm watching, and she had so much energy, and I was dragging. I was miserable. And I go, what was that about? And the librarian said, "Uh, romance novels. Have you ever read one?" I said, oh, my mother reads them.
Yeah.
He picked one out and he pushed it towards me and he said, why don't you try one?
Yep.
And it literally revitalized my life. It could have been any story, though, to be honest.
Sure.
Stories just, I mean, stories bring energy to my
Sure.
imagination. And, before I knew it, it was like I started engaging back in my life because I was engaged in these books.
Right. I get I get that a lot from people who are saying, where do you come up with a story?
Mhm,
Now what are you working on now? What are you working on now? And I'm at a different stage in my writing career than you are, but I'm at a stage where I have to constantly be pitching ideas,
mhm,
to get contracts. And my approach to that is just like, okay, that didn't work. Here's another idea I have.
mhm.
And it's very hard for me to shut my brain down. And it drives
Because
my,
you like stories.
I love
And that
stories.
goes back to reading comic books,
Right,
classic illustrated comic books. That's where
right.
I read Treasured Island. That's where I
Yeah,
read A Tale of Two Cities.
yeah.
Yes.
And
I love those.
and
I
s-
love those.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I just got to roll with it.
Yeah.
And but anyway, so what's next now after we talked about the trilogy here? What's next for
The
you?
trilogy, the trilogy. Well, it's interesting. I'm going to be doing something different. I'm going to be doing what we term indie publishing, which means that my next book's probably going to be an ebook. Um, and I'm working on bringing out some of my older books
Uh-huh.
and bringing them back to readers because there's a whole slew of readers who have never been familiar with them before.
Right.
But the neat thing is this indie book I'm doing with a collaboration of seven other remarkable writers. And it's just been so much fun because we've got that down pretty much and
Sure.
we can feed off each other. So from
Mhm.
going to where writing was an isolated endeavor to going to a place where it's almost like a party is really a lot of fun. It is great fun.
Right.
And we're writing about seven sisters, and then each of us took a sis and went at it. It's
Right.
just been and it's going to be interesting to me how it comes in because there's going to be some things that
Right.
I might decide that mom's a blonde, someone else might decide mom's a
Right.
brunette. I mean,
Right.
we may run into problems. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, you know what? This is an idea that I pitched to the editors at Harper for years and years and years,
Yes,
and no one ever did it. And I think it would be amazing. It's a trilogy about a wedding dress, and it
perfect.
stays in the family, and it starts with a Regency, then a Victorian, and then a contemporary, and it's this dress is handed down,
Hmm.
to all these different and it's relationships, weddings, family history, heirlooms, the whole
Right,
thing.
right.
And I don't know, they just never quite,
Yeah, isn't that kind of like the red violin?
I don't know.
Yeah, the red violin where it's being passed down to
Right.
musicians throughout history and everything,
Yeah.
and so having the I've read kind of the concept with like a bad luck wedding dress,
Right.
but I like that concept.
Yeah, I do
I think
too.
it's a great concept, Mike.
I do too.
Yeah,
I have to write it myself, I guess. All
come
right.
on in. The water's
So,
fine. It's great.
do you mind if we move on to my book now?
I would love to.
Okay, so my newest is called The Raven Shadow,
Mm, I love it.
and it takes place in Washington, D.C. in the 1820s, 1824, after a very contentious presidential election. Sound familiar?
Yeah,
Where John Quinton, none of the candidates had received the majority of the popular vote. First time it ever happened.
right.
Constitution requires that um, the election be thrown into the House of Representatives. Um, uh, sorry about that. Um, it requires that they go into the House of Representatives. John Quincy Adams and Andrew Jackson were the two main.
Hmm.
Henry Clay, who finished third in the voting, makes a deal with Adams. If he becomes Secretary of State, he'll give Adams his votes and he'll have the majority and he'll be president. Well, Jackson's head nearly explodes. He calls it the corrupt bargain. He threatens to set up a government in exile in Tennessee. He threatens a coup. He just, he was a real scrapper, that Andy.
Hmm.
And so it goes back and forth and back and forth, and finally Quincy Adams is going to be inaugurated. Well, into all of this cubicle where people had no idea what was going to happen because the country wasn't even barely 50 years old,
Not only that, but if
and
anything happened, it would take 2 weeks to know.
right, and how to
Yes, it's
fix it.
crazy.
And so
Yes.
they had federal troops on patrol because they didn't know what would happen if when at the inauguration would Jackson try to stage a coup? They had no idea.
Hmm.
Um, and so into this cubicle comes three teenagers: Edgar Allan Poe, Charles Darwin, and Abraham Lincoln. And Poe's there because he's trying to make something of himself. He's 16 years old. He wants to be a journalist. So he's going to write stories about the inauguration and try to sell them to papers in the North. Charles Darwin is there because his father has forced him to go on a tour of the colonies before he begins his boarding school. And Abraham Lincoln is there because he and Charles Darwin are actually born on the same day, if you could believe that.
Oh, no.
February 12th, 1809. That was a gobsmacker.
Mhm.
But he's there because he's come from Indiana, where he lived at the time. He doesn't know what he's going to do with himself yet. He hasn't figured himself yet, and he likes politics, and he wants to just go see what it's all about. So they end up there all together, and the way that they come together is because on Darwin's ship on the way over from England, there was a stowaway, and the stowaway, the world would come to know as Count Dracula. And he's come to, if anyone has ever read the novel Dracula, which I have, best horror novel ever written, in my opinion. Um, Dracula is essentially Bram Stoker's metaphor for allegory for Britain as a colonial power, sucking the life out of its colonies. He was Irish, Stoker was Irish. And so, Dracula is going to do this invasion of England in the 1890s when the book was published, Dracula was published, he's coming to America now to do a dress rehearsal to find out how it goes. What does he need to do? What will he need? Because America's weak. They're just a weak country at that point. And so he comes to,
Are you talking about 1790s or
no,
18,
1824.
18? I know, but you said 1890.
No, 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 I'm sorry, 1890s. That's when Dracula was published.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
All right.
And that Dracula was his plan was to invade England and turn it into a race of vampires. So they get
As one
involved,
does.
as one does, sure.
Is this not the K-pop demon hunters, right?
Right. So anyway, the three of them get thrown together and they save the world, like young heroes do. It's a cross between A League of Extraordinary Young Gentlemen and Penny Dreadful or The Alienist. I mean, it's just um, it's got all of the tropes that I think people like in that kind of stuff, and it just had a torturous path to publication, but it's just I think it's my favorite book that I've written so far, and I'm
I love the
really
premise of it. I love the premise, and I think I think the best part about it is that the world was a very small place.
right,
Surprisingly small, considering how far people and how long it took to travel different
right,
places, and yet they
and
did, and yet
and
they
where
did.
to get,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
I always talk about I wrote a picture book about the Pony Express. And I say the goal of the Pony Express when it started was to get mail from St. Joseph, Missouri to Sacramento, California in 10 days. And that was like the frontier equivalent of email at the time. That's almost instant. So you tend to forget about these things where we have everything is, bing, it's there.
Right.
So anyhow, I I don't know. I came up with a concept
I love it.
and it was fun to write and it's got all kinds of action and adventure and
It's kind of a mashup too.
it is a mashup. It is. And
And the
there's all
mashups are now, would you call this a young adult book, or would you consider this
I would
a
say it's
book
a,
for adults for everybody?
I
I
think
mean,
it's for
it's,
everybody. I think it's
yeah.
like I think it leans YA, but it's a fairly sophisticated read, I would
Hmm.
say. I mean,
Hmm.
um, 13 and up probably would be or 18 and up, somewhere it's kind of a tweener in a way. So it's a little tough for me to categorize, but
Yeah.
it's just a lot of fun. I really enjoyed writing it. There's going to be two sequels, or it'll be a trilogy eventually with new figures from history and Dracula trying to make his way back to Europe after he gets kicked out of America.
It's almost like
Um,
it's the Highlander.
yeah, almost.
Dracula is like that character that goes through, but then there's new people that come in who are,
Right.
or what
Right.
is the one that I used to love, Quantum Leap?
Yeah. Right.
I just, that was, well, talk about a well-written show. That was pretty amazing. But I think that this idea of a mashup is really, and especially today, I mean, kids love this.
Oh, I
Kids
know.
love bringing these things in. And instead of the giving them bad here, it makes them curious about history.
Right. Sure. I That reminds me, I wrote this novel called Into the Killing Seas about the sinking of the USS Indianapolis in World War
Yes.
II. I cannot tell you how many letters and emails I've gotten from kids that said, I read this book, I loved it, I cried at the end. And then
Mhm.
I started researching about the USS Indianapolis and I did a project and a report and I learned about the real story and the real men who survived and the captain and all, I mean, it just makes my heart burst
Yes.
practically.
Yes. Yes.
But this is a planned trilogy, and speaking of matchups, so in book two, it's going to be Arthur Conan Doyle, Theodore Roosevelt, and Billy the Kid as teenagers.
Hmm.
And in book three, it's going to be Harry Houdini, Winston Churchill, and Lucy Maud Montgomery, author of Anne of Green Gables,
Hmm.
because the idea of her in her hats and long flowing white dresses with demon blood all over her was just too rich for me to pass up. So
This is amazing.
And she goes back to Canada and she says, I don't want to write about anything dark. I don't want
Okay,
to
if
write about
Hollywood's
anything.
listening, I think this sounds like a great series.
Yeah, me too.
I think this would be so much fun. I think it
Yeah,
would be a lot of fun.
I do too.
But okay, so here's what in my life I've experienced that I learn when something captures my imagination.
Hmm.
And it's usually through story.
Hmm.
This is what I'm looking for. I learn through story. And once I hit that, um, once my emotions are engaged, there's no stopping me.
Yeah.
There was no stopping me.
Well, so that's that. And then I also just came out last month, The Thread of the Spider, which is the
Yes.
second book in my Web of the Spider series. This book takes place more history.
Hmm.
Takes place in Germany in the 1930s as a group of young people watch Hitler's rise to power and how it changes their country, changes their families, changes their society, and how they react to it. And it's also a ton of action, a ton of adventure.
Of course,
And
yes.
the third book, The Spider Strikes, will go on sale in February. So you can check that out. So then
Wonderful. These are wonderful books.
I thank you. I hope people like them. They seem to. But then I was going to talk about some Christmas ideas, gift ideas for kids, because I thought your readers might, be looking for stuff,
Okay.
to buy. The first one is called I Love Blueberries, and it's the companion book to I Love Strawberries, and it's about a little girl who loves everything about strawberries and decides that she wants to know everything about strawberries. She wants to know how to eat them. She wants to know how to cook them. She wants to know how to grow them. She wants to know how to harvest them. And it just is her little quirky self all the way through. And you get a recipe in the back for national. She celebrates on National Blueberry Day. You get a recipe for blueberry ice cream in the book.
Oh,
Uh,
wonderful.
so it's just a really good fun.
Now, did you write that book?
No, these
Who
are
wrote it?
no, this is some author friends of mine. So
And the
uh,
name is?
the name is Shannon Anderson is the
Okay,
author, and she's
great.
also the author of I Love Strawberries.
All right.
All right. Um, this book is called My Christmas Tree Farm,
Mm-hmm.
and it's kind of the same effect of are the same sort of approach as I Love Blueberries. It's about a little girl who grows up on a Christmas tree farm and how they work all year round to get the Christmas trees ready, and how when it finally snows and people start to come to buy their Christmas trees, it's their favorite time of year. And it's just a really wonderful kind of a it's a Christmas story that's kind of like, not what you typically get in Christmas books. It's something that really, these are, I mean, I have a Christmas tree farm right down the road from me, and I watch them all year long. And you really don't see that part
Right,
of the
right.
holiday, and it's kind of interesting to look at. And this is
So who's
by
the author?
Lissa Amstutz. Lissa
Okay,
Amstutz. And all the books and links will be in comments if you're watching. They'll be in the comments when this is posted.
great. Okay, all right.
All right. And then the next book it's by Cindy Williams Schaubern, who, full disclosure, my cousin,
All right.
a wonderful picture book writer. It's called This Could Be You. And this is a book about engendering. It says, This could be you. Be brave, be true, believe in you. And
Mhm.
it's all about invoking and engendering growth mindset in our children and in ourselves. And what these kids go through in the book is they try something, they try a project, an art project or something like that. And maybe it doesn't come out the way they wanted. Maybe it didn't quite work. But next time they have practice now. Next time it'll probably work even better.
A
And if
valuable
not,
lesson.
and if
Very
not,
valuable.
and if not, the next after that. And
Hmm.
it gets all the way to the end where um, it says, guess what? That who is you. And there's a
Ah,
mirror.
it's me.
It's wonderful. She's a great author, great person. And she also has another book out called Hank's Chains of Heart.
This is
And
good. We're getting a boy book
yeah,
because before we had girl books.
yeah. So Cindy Williams Robin about that. And this is Hank.
Hmm.
He loves to collect things, and what he collects is hearts. He collects them, cuts them out, draws them, puts them in his little wagon, pulls them around. And then one day, he comes across a neighbor, and he decides to give her one of his hearts, his paper hearts. And her eyes just light up, and she's so overjoyed to have this that he starts to learn uh, that what's even better than collecting hearts is giving them away, because you get to see the joy and the happiness that it brings people. And so at the end, everyone loved hearts.
Oh, that is great. Those
And,
illustrations are wonderful
oh
too.
yeah, the illustrator is Sasha Richards. She's a
Mm,
marvelous, marvelous illustrator.
mm,
But anyway, that's also by Cindy Williams Schaubern, my
right.
cousin. Um, then I have a couple of kids' books that are not. This is by Jonathan Finsky. It's called Candy Corn Christmas. And basically, what happens is Candy Corn is tired of being limited to Halloween. They want in on some of the Christmas action.
As
Well, of
one
course,
does. Yes.
yeah, of course, none of the Christmas candies, like the Christmas candy cane, want the Christmas candy corn anywhere around. They're like, no, get out of here. Get back to Halloween. Leave, go. And they're like, nope, we're not going to do that. And eventually, everybody figures out that candy corn can also be a part of Christmas. They can become red and white, green and red, whatever color you want, and make it a bigger, better holiday. So. And then the last two are called children's books, but I
Okay.
think they're more parodies for adults, the adults among us.
All right.
And the first one is called Hookers and Blow Save Christmas.
Huh. Yeah, I can see where you're going with that.
And what it actually is that one town gets buried by a blizzard, and only the town snowblower and the town tow truck can get through the blizzard to find Tommy the transport and tow him back to town with all the Christmas presents.
Ah,
And so the two of them together, it's all about working together, solving a problem, and of course some double entendres in there. But
right.
it's a really fun book. It really is. And then last, this is actually a poetry book, kind of told in the text is told in verse. but it's called Willie the Engineer's Massive Erections.
Oh my
And,
gosh. They're engineering's hardest feats.
yeah, it's an earring's hardest feat. I mean, how can you not? I don't know how you cannot buy that. I certainly could not buy it because here it is. But it has things like the Taj Mahal and
Ah, true.
The St.
True.
Louis Arch, and all the different the Space Needle. I mean, it's just and it has a little poem about all of those things. And Willie the engineer visits all these places, and it goes all around the world.
Hmm.
For that what's its name in Abu Dhabi, that tower, whatever it is, and it's just a lot of fun. And so I think there's a wide variety of things there for any kid that you have on your list or adult, frankly.
Hmm.
And
Well, I think adults, especially when we're reading bedtime stories,
mhm,
we want to be entertained too.
the Walt Disney method. There's always, if you go to a Disney movie, there's always some little quips in there that are
Hmm.
for the adults to keep the
Right,
adults engaged
right.
because they're going to have to sit through that movie 57 times.
Yes.
And so yeah, it's good. I love, it's probably apparent to people watching, but humor is a big part of my life. And I like funny books. I like books that make me laugh. I like books
If
that are,
anybody is watching who does not know Mike Spradlin, understand this man is the master of the dad joke, hands
Thank
down.
you. Thank you. Well, it's funny because my son just had a surgery on his jaw and they had to like wire it closed for a few days.
Um,
So I said, you get an unrelenting stream of dad jokes because he,
and I'm
so
that cruel. I'm that
he,
cruel to my son.
yeah,
I love you.
I know.
Here's another joke you can't laugh at.
But anyway, yeah, I appreciate that. That's been one of my goals in life was to master the dad joke. But anyway, so what's next for you? We talked about the indie publishing. Are what other ideas are you kicking around? Or you don't have to talk about them if you don't want to. I mean that some
Yeah, I'm following the Dick Van Dyke advice. I read his bio years ago, and he said he lived by the rule of show up and have fun.
right,
And that's what I've been doing. And it's
right,
been kind of interesting. I haven't been planning that far ahead, and I've been showing up. I've been having fun. Um, it's been really delightful.
yeah,
And I live in this a charming community in West Virginia. It's a lovely place. And I'm getting involved in different community projects and I'm
well,
having
that's
a
great,
great time in life. So I
great,
write a little and I do a little art council stuff and then I go over
yeah,
here and I do I still have my finger in the pie of connecting with other writers. I think it's important. If there's
right,
anybody listening who's ever wanted to write a book, my advice is to start networking with other writers.
mhm.
Show up at book signings and plop yourself down and
Listen,
introduce yourself as a
yeah,
writer and
yeah,
and ask questions. Ask
sure.
questions.
I get a lot of that, especially from kids. A lot of
Hmm.
email, how do I, and I try to answer every single one as thoughtfully as I can and I have time for. But the main thing about, I think what you just said is just start, you know,
Yes.
because I don't think people understand, and I know kids don't understand. I have slides in my presentation of the editorial marks and corrections and rewrites
Mhm.
and revisions. I said, you don't just whip this out and send it in and out it goes. And a lot of people don't know that. They
Oh.
don't realize that, my first novel took me well over 6 months to revise.
Mhm.
That wasn't counting the time it took me to write the first draft. So it's the thing that you have to do
But
is,
you were in the industry, weren't you?
yeah, I
So
was at the
you
time.
had a ringside seat, so it wasn't so
But
personal.
yeah, it wasn't, but um, it also was a double-edged sword because there were times when being in the industry, I think, kind of worked against me a little bit
Hmm.
because it gets looked upon as nepotism or this kind of thing, and And then
No
when
one
I,
wants to hurt your
no,
feelings.
I know, right,
Yes.
exactly.
People
Um,
start dodging you at
but
the water cooler, that
right,
thing.
but when I started getting good reviews and I started winning awards, that all kind of went
Mhm.
away. So I sent a thriller that I've been working on to a editor friend of mine, worked together for years, and I said, just read this and tell me what you think. And a couple weeks later, he called back. He said, I can't. He said, I had no idea you could do this, an adult thriller. He said, I had no idea you could write like this. He said, I thought you were strictly kids and YA. And he goes, but this is amazing. And he says, unfortunately, I can't publish it, but it's amazing.
So why can't he
And
publish it?
because
You know,
ever since COVID, debut thrillers are not working.
no.
Mm-mm. Not for them.
See, I
So
think that's something that readers are interested in too, is that, for a person who enjoys thrillers.
right,
Now, fortunately, there's a backlist of thrillers. There's all sorts of things that you can read.
right.
Robert Ludlum, I mean, they're still, are they still publishing him and his name?
Love them.
Ludlum,
I
yeah. I
believe
mean,
so. Yeah, I
there's
believe so.
somebody, there's a ghostwriter or somebody because he's been dead for years. But um, but there's a backlist for this. But
Sure.
so sometimes the reader doesn't notice that new stuff isn't coming out. New
No,
books aren't coming out.
no.
Science fiction.
But
I thought for years it would, finally break out and start doing
well,
science fiction. And one of
you
my
know,
favorite series, have you read the Bobiverse?
no, I
Oh
haven't.
my gosh. We
Right.
are Bob.
I'm writing
We
it
are
down.
Legion. And don't ask me the name of the author off the top of my head, but he is a Canadian computer programmer who submitted this book. And oh my gosh, Mike, when you read, you will just absolutely, your brain will flip. And he got rejected by everybody. And so finally he put it out
Self-publish it.
himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bobaverse.
The Bobiverse. We are Bob. We are Legion.
Okay.
We are legend. We are legion. We are legend. We are legion. Yes, we are legion. My gosh, I
Well,
mean, I'm going to tell you, it's,
yeah. Well, that's
yeah,
my theory too, is that I think the indie publishing, especially in thrillers, has really had an impact on the market. That I don't think New York publishers are realizing yet, because there are guys out there who are selling tens of thousands of copies of their thrillers on Kindle.
right.
And so people who read those books, which are kind of similar to romance reader, that they read multiple books a week,
Yes.
they're saying, why should I spring $26 for somebody I never heard of when I can get it? Well, if I'm Kindle Unlimited, I can basically get it for free
And try it and
and
sample
try
it.
it and then and go on from there.
His
And
name's, the author is Dennis E. Taylor.
Dennis E. Kaler.
Taylor, yes.
Rage.
Oh,
The Deltons
oh,
help.
I started it. I've been listening to the Audible books and the reader is phenomenal.
Cool.
His reader and he does it all himself. I mean, he chose the reader, he's
Right.
doing it all. It's not being done. And then I sit there and I think some publisher missed a remarkable opportunity
Oh, sure.
because that's what's going to happen. That's probably what's going to happen to your thriller. You're going to
Yep.
bring it out yourself and you're going to have it out there and readers are going to love it and delight in it.
Well, I
And
hope.
you'll be driving a Jaguar.
Well, your lips to God's ears, as they say. All right. Well, listen, this has been joyful to do,
Thank you.
to talk,
Thank
and
you. I adore seeing you anytime I can.
I think we should like try to do this on a semi-regular basis about different stuff, like
Okay, let's do
writing
it.
tips or
Let's
something.
talk
We'll figure it out.
books. Let's
Yeah,
talk books. Yes.
absolutely. Okay, so I'm gonna take off there, and thank you everyone for joining us.